Hey guys, tonight we're going to start Unit 3. So, this is the last unit before we will go into our midterm. So please make sure that you are preparing yourselves as we go along. And make sure that you ask any questions as we go through this stuff during class. I know these are hotly debated topics in Unit 3 because we are going to talk about the election cycle, a lot of the quote-unquote hot topics from the news these days. So we'll get into those in class a whole lot more because your guys are doing such a good job taking notes at home. So let's get to it. Rights, duties, and responsibilities. As you might have noticed, we are starting with 3.8. It just makes a little bit more sense because we're going to talk about citizenship, what it means to be a citizen. We're going to talk about the types of government we have here in the United States and abroad. And then we're going to talk about basically what our type of government provides us the ability to be able to do. And that, of course, is to elect the people that are in office. But for right now, we're going to start with rights, duties, and responsibilities. So, you can see here that our vocab terms for tonight are quite lengthy, so we will talk about those as we go through. They have already been provided to you on your guided notes, so take a minute, make sure that you know all of them at the very end in order to proceed. So rights are things that you are entitled to, things that you are born with, things like freedom and equal protection. And yes, most of us would assume that equal protection is just something that we are born with, but that was one of the things, of course, that we had to add to the Constitution with the 14th Amendment. Your duties are things that you have to do. You do not have a choice. You could actually be criminally prosecuted if you do not do these things. And first and foremost, first one, pay taxes. You do not have an option. Right? Everybody is supposed to pay their taxes. You're also supposed to go to school until you're 16. Again, you and your parents or your guardian can be prosecuted if you do not attend school until you are at least 16. And we can probably attest that even after that, it's probably still a good idea in order to get your education and to go past the age of 16. You also must obey laws. You have to go through jury duty, and we're talking about duties. And it says jury duty. Don't ever miss that on a test. And you also need to sign up for the draft if you are a male, and you can do that, of course, when you get your driver's license. They will automatically do that for you. It does not mean that you have to go to war or anything like that. It just means in case we would have a draft. And again, the last one was Vietnam, so it's been quite some time. But all men are supposed to sign up for the draft once they're at the age of 18. Responsibilities are things that you should do. These are things like voting, participating in your government, being informed, volunteering, and respecting diversity. These are things, of course, that you cannot be criminally prosecuted if you do not do, like vote. They're not going to come and get you if you don't vote. But these are things that you should do in order to be a productive citizen. Alright, so starting to talk about proud to be an American, you can see the seal on numerous things. It says E pluribus unum. It means out of many, one. And we'll talk about what that means in class tomorrow. There are 3 ways to become an American citizen. You can be born in the United States. Those are called soil-born or natural-born. If at least one parent is a U.S. citizen, you could be called blood-born. And there's some fancy terms, je suis and je suis, but we're going to go with the much more traditional and things that we can pronounce, because I probably pronounce those wrong. So, soil-born, you were born here, and blood-born, you have a parent that was born here. The naturalization process is the process that people must go through if neither one of those first two really apply. So the process to become a citizen is called the naturalization process. The naturalization process, guys, is, I wouldn't say a simple or an easy 5-step process, but it is a 5-step process. You have to apply. Once you apply, you have to legally live in the United States for 5 years. You do have to do a face-to-face, one-on-one interview with the CIS, and we'll talk about what that is in just a second. You have to pass a citizenship exam. And you have to take an oath of allegiance, you and everybody else at the same time. They give you this little American flag, and you all stand up and basically take an oath of allegiance, excuse me. So the CIS is the Citizenship and Immigration Services. This is the group that is supposed to control immigration. And these are the people who are basically called by Congress in order to try to control immigrants. So we have two different theories about kind of what America is going to look like. One's the melting pot theory, and one is the salad theory. So the melting pot theory basically talks about assimilation, or the process of becoming more Americanized, or Americanization. This is when people who come here speak English, they change their names to something that people like me can pronounce, changing customs and traditions and things like that. The food that you would eat perhaps in your home country you can't find here, or you just simply don't eat here. The salad bowl theory, the goal of the salad bowl theory is basically to maintain individual cultures and their histories, languages, customs, food, traditions, things like that, in order to maintain kind of where people are. And we'll talk about how to remember those in class tomorrow. So we have some different types of governments, and these go really, really fast, but we'll talk about them. So the first one is anarchy, or the act of not having a government at all. So, not having a government is anarchy. Theocracy, okay, this idea of a government by religious leaders. Okay, so if you think about Vatican City and the Pope, that's what we're talking about with theocracy. Egyptians with the pharaohs, theocracy. Monarchy, the government led by a king or a queen. There is a difference between an absolute monarchy and a representative monarchy, and so we can talk about those differences in class tomorrow. Totalitarianism, the government has total control. So if you want to think about this as far as like a dictatorship is concerned, that's probably the easiest thing. Aristocracy is government by the rich, the people who have the money. Going back to your world history days, if you remember Caesar Crassus and Pompey, these were some leaders, and, well, we can see how well oligarchies work out. Some of these didn't, actually only one of these actually made it. But it's a government by a few people. Oligarchy, government by a few. Now, we're getting more towards the type of government we have here in the United States. Representative democracy is basically where you vote for people to represent what you believe, right? So you and I don't get to vote on every single issue because that would not leave room for anything else. And that is representative democracy. A direct democracy is one man, one vote, or one woman, one vote. We all know that I can draw an amazing sheep woman for number 19. But everybody gets a chance to vote on every single issue. Okay, so you see the little picture of the Mayflower down there. There was a compact that was written on the Mayflower that basically gave people on the Mayflower this right to one man, one vote. Everybody votes on every single issue, and they do everything based off of whoever's going to win that particular vote. A democratic republic is a government that's created by the Constitution here in the United States. It's a government by the people, of the people, and for the people. So again, we're going to vote people into office, but it's a government that's created by us, for us. See you tomorrow in class, guys.